flamer Chariot. It's probably going to go for the cavalry and then move into something else. Crane gunners are not going to be very useful here in close quarters, and the ranged troops, they're going to have a bad day. Good evening, Riv here, and welcome back to Total War Warhammer 3. Tonight we're jumping into my Tzeentch campaign. It's somewhere around 30-ish kind of days. I don't mind the race. It is very range orientated. There are a few melee units, but primarily you're going to be taking on things at range, which is what we saw in the Ogre Kingdoms and the Cathay campaigns. Very range focused. I have gotten the legendary Lord, Kairos Fateweaver, up to, I think he's nearly level 20. He's starting to come into his own a little bit in regards to the spells. But we'll jump in and I'll show you what I found with the mechanics and give you my thoughts. Okay, here we are. We're actually on day 50, so a little bit further on than I had remembered. Mechanics. We'll go over the legendary Lord first, Kairos. He is level 20. All the things that we've seen, magic items, ancillaries, character stats and abilities, all the stuff that you've seen from all the other races. The only difference that I've seen is the Legions of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, sorry, that has the customizing bar. Skills, that's what I'm going with at the moment. Always put in the first point into route marcher. I was going to go a little bit into ambush. I put 1 point in, and then I started going down this line here once I hit level 14, I think it was. This line opened up, so the last level I got, I put a second point into that. So yeah, because he's a flyer and he's a large character, you do want missile resistance. He does get shot a lot. That magic, the barrier that he's got, it's just under 2,000, so it doesn't last very long. So a little bit of extra resistance is always good. He's going fairly heavy into magic. I don't think he actually has any skills to boost his physical capabilities. No. This bar here, he has the Tzeentch magic line, so glean magic. It's I haven't actually found any use for it yet. It's basically stealing magic from enemy magic users. I haven't actually come up against any. I did in my last battle came up against the Cathay legendary lord. The female turns into a dragon. When she was in dragon form, I tried to use that on her, and you just can't target them. It says this must target a magic user. So if she was in human form, then I probably could have used that, but 50 turns in, I haven't used it once yet, so I'm finding that pretty limiting. I haven't used that. The playstyle of the army is not really what I'm used to. I tend to like having a good solid wall of frontline troops. So having multiple lines of range troops is something that's a little bit new for me. So at the moment, I've been too focused on managing that I haven't focused on abilities like this that reduces leadership and the melee attack. You basically don't want enemy troops getting into melee range. Breath weapon is cool. I've got that on all my characters, and I use that pretty heavily. Prismatic plurality. Decreases your cooldowns by 10 seconds, lasts for 33 seconds, and it's enabled if you're casting. So I'm casting pretty frequently. It's just making the cooldowns of the abilities pop up a bit faster. Just got that. It's a vortex spell. Magical reserves. So the Kairos special line, 40% barrier during battles, and the Oracle of Eternity, which is a 4% damage resistance, lasts for 22 seconds with a 90-second cooldown. Just a ward save. Thaumaturgic rejuvenation. It increases the barrier replenishment rate, and reduces the delay before it starts rejuvenating. Wind Summoner, power reserve +3 per turn, and a 10% physical resistance. Boons of Change, 20% barrier for the Lord of Change units, and Winds of Magic cost of -15% for the Law of Tzeentch spells. And then 20% barrier for the entire army during battles, and the attribute Master of Elemental Winds for the Iridescent Horrors, Cultists, and Lord of Change. What that does is when more than one unit that share this attribute are in the same army, the power of spells cast is increased. Haven't seen that. I'm just taking for granted that it's happening. No idea. Haven't checked it. I just throw spells out there and hit them with range. And greater arcane conduit, obviously. Next one, the Iridescent Horror. This is one that came by doing a quest. It's the Tzeentch line. Went with that, summon a unit of blue horrors. It's always handy to have an extra unit you can throw in the way of cavalry or something like that. Went full training. I want my troops to be max level as much as possible. And I got this cultist from completing a quest as well. He's just standard fire wizard. My second army. I didn't get that on the hero in my main army because I wanted to level him up pretty quickly, but this guy is more of the staying around home and defending the towns. I'll show you in a sec. I do have a town which is right near the Cathay's bastion building, and when I took that, I couldn't actually reinforce it, whereas they can build the structures in there and make it heavily fortified, heavy garrisons and whatnot. You can't do anything. When you go into the build window, it just says there's something or other of Cathay would know how to reinforce or repair this or something like that. You can't do anything with it, so it's pointless to hold it unless you're going to be going through there quite often. So this guy, he's not, so I just went with the basic disc because that one's level 16 and he just hit level 7. So the route marcher, obviously, to get to and from the various towns that I've captured, and I've just started going into the corruption, which increases the Tzeentch corruption in the local province. I'll probably cover that one now because it's a new mechanic that I've only just seen. You can see down there the levels of corruption, Undivided 73, Nurgle 83, and Tzeentch 100. When you hit in a province a Tzeentch corruption, you get a prompt to build a cult in the settlement. So once it hits Tzeentch corruption in any of the provinces over the map, it doesn't have to be from you, it could just be from one of those rifts that pops up. A Tzeentch rift that hasn't been closed. Once it hits 100, you get a prompt saying Tzeentch corruption has hit 100. You can build a cult, something structure there. I can't show you what the 4 different buildings are because I've already built them, but when I get another province that has that prompt, I'll record it so I can show you what they are, but there's 4 different options. This one I went with the 3rd option, which gives you a passive 100 income. I'm assuming that if that town gets taken over, you'll lose your cult. A couple of turns ago I got the Bay of Blades as well, and I chucked the same one in there, so that's an extra 200 income per turn. I did find that pretty useful because I have been teetering around the 0 mark for the last 10-15 turns. So the town you start off with is the Valerie, and it is right next to Cathay. I have captured all 4 of here. You get quests to capture the 2nd and 3rd straight off the bat. This one here, I've lost it probably about 4 times now. Capture it, start repairing and building garrisons, and then what's her name? And she was actually just sitting there, so every time I moved away, she'd come out, she'd raid it, and she would take it. She'd never sacked it. She would always take it, and then she'd go back in here. I'd come back, take it again. and I've done that about 4 times now, and then I just left the army there. I came over to the next settlement, built up a second hero, and stuck him over here once he had, I think I had about 8 of the blue horrors on him, which is the basic troop. And I had a full garrison, a tier 2 full garrison, which is just 4 blue horrors, 1 Forsaken, 4 more horrors, 4 more Forsaken, an Iridescent Horror of metal, and Chaos Furies. So it wasn't a huge garrison, and then he came out, or she came out with her army, and then a backup army which only had half a dozen or so, and they took it out. So I sent Kairos back in here, reinforced it, did the same thing, got another lord up. I think it was about the same thing, it was about 8 to 10 blue horrors, and then we just went and took it out, and it was a very tough fight. I lost a lot of troops. I lost the second army, and I probably only had half my troops left. And then I went to reinforce this and just couldn't build anything there. So I'm like, okay, well, come back over here. And then this, who were they? Imperial Wardens, they came and took it the next turn. And then it was only a turn or 2 later that the Kurgan units here, Kurgan Warband, they spawned, because it must have been one of those events which I showed you in the Cathay campaign. Every however long it is, a bunch of these Kurgan troops spawn, and then they attack one of these 3 gates, snake, dragon, or turtle. Then they took it out, and it hasn't been captured since. Okay, so that's the armies, buildings. The garrisons aren't too bad. I actually have a upgrade. I should put that on. Garrisons aren't too bad. They're not particularly strong. The blue horrors are the weak units. You get them down here and here. As you can see there, like, they got basically no armor, leadership, their missile strength and range are very limited, and they only have 5 rounds of ammunition. So basically you put them in front of your pink horrors, which are your next tier, that have more range, more ammunition, and a bit more damage. And they shoot until they can't, and then they just hold the enemy troops while the pink ones keep doing their damage. I did get, they've got them in here now, the Forsaken. I got them not too long ago, and they are actually pretty tanky. They've got 85 armor. I actually used them in the big battle that I had, and without them, it would have been a whitewash. They can take a lot of damage, even though they don't have shields. The Cathay army was pretty much a 50-50 range to melee, and they were staggered. It was a very interesting setup, actually. I can't show you what the map looks like, but basically when you see with the AI, they have a line of melee, and then behind them they have a line of range troops. This one, it was staggered. They were on an angle like this. It was that way. 1 unit of range, 1 unit of melee, another range, another melee, and they went sideways like this, but on a 45-degree angle. And then in halfway through the map, they changed to this way so they could shoot whilst being reinforced by the peasant spearmen that they had. They were only peasant archers, but there were a few units of the Jade Warrior crossbowmen, a couple of cavalry, and the big dragon lady. But it was a very unique setup. I'd never seen AI set up like that before, and I didn't really know how to approach it, because my reinforcements were spawning behind them, and I expected just to run them straight down and take the range troops out at the back. But no, they were staggered side by side on a 45-degree angle. It was quite interesting. It basically took out my army trying to crack that, but we got through there. I wouldn't say that I would particularly enjoy playing this campaign all the way through. I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as Ogres, and there wasn't enough in it compared to Cathay that would make you want to play it a lot to get better at it. As you can see, the number of troops are very limited. So you got your Chaos Furies, They're very weak. They're quite fast. You can get around behind and do some damage to range units, but only when the range units are separate. When they're staggered like they were for the Cathay army, they were useless. Now, I had 4 units of them, and I just couldn't find anything to attack, so I left them until I was engaged in melee, and then I just sent them around from the other side, and they did a bit of damage before they died. The blue horrors, the pink horrors, and I'm just starting to recruit the Exalted pink horrors now. Basically just a flat upgrade from the normal pink horrors. Nothing too special about them. The Forsaken, they're a really good unit. I haven't actually played with them yet, but I have just recruited a couple of the Spawn of Tzeentch. I don't have any of the Chaos Knights or the Doom Knights, but they do look pretty tough, and they're very fast too, 105. Yeah, they would be interesting to see, because they also have that barrier. I haven't done any of these lines yet. I will have it in 5 turns, but I don't have them yet. I have played against these Screamers. They weren't too tough. They did die fairly quickly, but they were pretty fast. These look cool. Looking at the stats, missile strength is good, range is limited, and ammunition is not great. But they also have a pretty good melee attack and weapon strength. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving them a try. That's just a flat upgrade version of it. I do have, you actually start with one of these and you start with one of them. I lost him in that big battle, but I still have him. Very limited ammunition. They've only got 9. They shoot from a distance. They do a pretty decent damage, but then they get into hand-to-hand, and they were quite powerful. For a single model unit, they did a lot of damage. I just got one of them. Haven't got any of them yet, but they look to be pretty cool. And the Soul Grinder. I found it pretty limited. He does have range attack, but there's only 10 ammunition there, and the first few battles that I fought with him, his range was disrupted by the siege walls. He couldn't really do much useful, and he ran out of ammunition and just sat in the back row, and I had to manually bring him forward to get him to do anything. But in this battle where I lost him, he was a beast. It was wide open plains. He shot his full load of 10 shots, and then just ran in there and just started eating things. Granted, it was only basically 2 stacks of peasants, so peasant spearmen, peasant archers, peasant cavalry, but they were backed up with Jade Warrior crossbowmen and Jade Warrior, whatever they're called, with a sword and shield. I think they're just warriors, Jade Warrior warriors. I don't know, whatever they're called. He took them on as well, and he just ate them. It took the She-Dragon legendary lord to take him down, because he was just destroying everything. So I changed my mind, and I will actually go down that line and start getting a few of them in, because in those battles he was really instrumental to winning that fight. But that's it. They're all the troops. Haven't got any cavalry yet, but other than the Spawn and the Forsaken, it's all range troops. These guys, they do start as range, but they go into melee, just like these guys, just because of the lack of ammunition. But there are some legendary lord skills that will boost the amount of ammunition you get. So still very much a ranged army, but they do have a few melee units there to try and balance it out. But yeah, if you like range troops like Wood Elves, then go Tzeentch. Because out of the Ogres, Demons of Chaos, Cathay, and Tzeentch is the big ranged army. Okay, now there are a bunch of other abilities here, so I'll go the easiest one first. Magic Manipulation allows you to pull winds from across the world, apparently, but across your provinces that you own, you can, because I own this one here, if I owned a province over here, I could reduce my Winds of Magic here and then increase it over here. I only own the one full province, so I can't give you an example of that, but That's my outpost over there. But yeah, you've got 5 units there that you can drop down. Minimum strength. So that would be handy if you're about to fight a big battle. You want as much magic as you can. He's hovering around 100. He does have a special stance teleport, but you've got to unlock that with research. I'll cover that in a sec. Changing of the ways. That one is really cool. Unholy Manifestations. Okay, yeah, this one's a good one too. So at the moment, I'm only on Corruption level 1. You can see there, once I get over 1,000, I'm on 969 at the moment. I can then unlock this Mutagenic Energies, which is that one there. Enables attrition for the army regardless of immunities, and 25% casualties as well. 2,000 and 3,000. That's the one that you start off with. Basically, you move a army into an enemy-owned zone, and for 2 turns you'll lock them in place, but you'll gain 500 grimoires from it. Grimoires are what you use in here for the changing of the ways. It's basically campaign abilities. So you only start with you start with track army, and I picked up transfer settlement through research very early on. I have just unlocked Force Rebellion and Force War, but basically it enables the Tzeentch powers that be to force something to happen. So here you can track and transfer an army's line of sight, and that lasts for 5 turns. Transfer a settlement from one faction to another. So I haven't tried it yet, but I did find in Force War you can't force. So that one there enables you to force 2 factions to go to war. You can't do it for everyone. So I wanted to make what are they called? The Imperial Wardens. Imperial Wardens go to war with the northern provinces, but it won't let you. So if you go Imperial Wardens, it will then show you all the race or all the factions that you can send them to war with, and there are no other Cathay armies there. So I'm not sure if it's you can't make factions from the same race go to war, or they have to be neutral and below. If they're friendly or they're allied, then you can't do it. I'm not sure what the limitations are. Okay, Exiles of Khorne. I can choose the Slanesh one, so I think it's probably more towards their alliance rating. If they're friendly or higher, then you probably can't send them to war. Force Rebellion just enables you to pick a town and force a rebellion. I've done that on this town a few times. It takes 5 turns, and if it's still here, no. I'm sure I saw it recently. An enemy army spawns there. Because rebellions are where your population control gets so low that an enemy army will spawn, and it'll build up its strength over time, over a few turns, and then it will attack that town. And it's all grimoires. So all of these abilities cost grimoires. So yeah, you want to build your grimoires up to be able to use these quite frequently. I do have over 2,000 of them there, so I was able to do those a couple of times without any issue. Unholy Manifestations. Right, let's go over research. So that's your middle one there. They do give you some lore down here about everything is in 9, so the ninth library. So you'll see that some of them here are restricted based off prerequisites. So I can pick up the Way of Deception, which gives me the Reveal Shroud, Changing of the Ways, but I can't get that one until I've got Temporal Switch, Way of Manipulation, and Way of Fate. That's Glean Magic. Way of Manipulation. Fate's probably on this side. Yeah, Way of Fate there. So you can't just go straight into teleporting yourself around. Lots of pretty cool abilities there. Recruit rank for some of your troops. Extra armor for others. These ones here, Storm of Fire, I did see that in the devs gameplay. It was basically just a big bombardment spell, a very large area. Doesn't actually show you what the area is, but so your normal bombardments. This one would probably be about twice the size of that bombardment area. It is significantly bigger. And yeah, looks pretty cool and goes for a long time. Does it say? Doesn't say how long it goes for, but yeah, it does last a long time. So yeah, there's a couple of new spells in there. Yeah, and the normal stuff that you would expect, like cheaper construction, reduced time, charge bonuses, attack bonuses, more armor, more health, the usual sort of stuff. Things like this Tzeentch Corruption in all provinces. Getting that corruption level is quite good because you can get those cults popping up in towns all over the map. And you can see here my Tzeentch Corruption is maxed out at 100, and the whole landscape is this bluey, purpley kind of colour with the spots in there. All these little blue flames popping up. So next turn I'm going to have 6 of these pink horrors, and basically what I was doing with the normal pink horrors is just a 6 wide wall of Forsaken, send them across, and then use these pink horrors as backup, send the Furies around, as well as the Burning Chariot. These I haven't used yet, so they'll reinforce particular areas, all while the heroes and the Lord are doing their thing. So I'm going to end this turn, and we're going to go and attack something. Okay, so I led my second army into Cathay, and then I had Kairos set up an ambush right next to him. The Imperial Wardens decided to go and attack the secondary army, which is a pretty basic one. And I was just going to do a auto-resolve, but I think it would be a good opportunity to test out ambushes. And ambushes would be pretty good for a basically ranged army. I find if you're getting around 20 magic, don't try and channel any more. The few times I have seen 20-something of magic, every time I go to channel more, it's always a reduction. So I'm just going to leave it at 20. Now they are going that way.
Disorder makes them weak.
Artillery's in the back, which is good. My guys are a minute late. They're not going to be very useful. I think I'll use the Furies to take out artillery. He's on a Chaos Steed now, which actually looks pretty cool. Herald, he just looks a bit weird. In a good way. And those Exalted pink guys, they look pretty cool. And the Forsaken. They look particularly nasty. Heavily mutated. Anyway. Alright, let's send him to that side. With him. These guys. Keep them separate. I'm basically just going to drag them to the other side and just let them take out everything in the way. These guys I'm going to have from the back. They look like they have a longer range. The Exalted Inkies. I have to check that stat out. I think it was 170 or something. Not the other ones. Maybe they were 120, but they look like they're a longer range. So they're going to be able to take out everything there. Might move them back a little bit. Just so these guys will hopefully get seen first.
We are many!
Okay, so we're all set up now. Now they are marching down this way. So my reinforcements aren't going to arrive for a minute. They're because they're just blue and pink horrors, they're probably not going to do anything in this battle. But they will, their presence will help sway the battle, so these guys flee a bit sooner. What I've done is I got my Forsaken over here, and I'm just going to alt drag the whole lot of them this way, so they get into, as soon as they start moving and they get noticed, these guys, I'm going to get them to open fire. So toggle guard mode off, and I'll turn off fire at will.
Change, deceit, power!
And here's fire at will too.
Locking Watcher.
I've got one unit each of the Tzeentch horrors. I got one unit each of the spawn of Tzeentch on either side. They're going to bum rush the Jade Lancers here, the shock cavalry. And then I got 2 units of the Furies that are going to go and take out the artillery, and the Flamer Chariot is probably going to go for the cavalry and then move into something else. Crane gunners are not going to be very useful here in close quarters, and the range troops, they're going to have a bad day. Things I have to watch out for are the halberds and the spearmen. They've only got 1 troop of each, and they're right. Actually, there's 3 troops of peasant spearmen and 1 troop of jade halberds over there, and my large guys are over here. So this should go pretty well. Okay, now what spells I want to be using? I don't have enough to cast that straight off the bat, but they're 4 each. Actually, I do. The limit was 7. Now I'm tempted to cast that right here at the start. I might do that actually. Yeah, okay, that's my first move. I'm going to drop a Firestorm right here on these guys. I'm going to grab... going to grab 4 and I'll drag them across. Then I'll grab 5 and turn them to fire at will. And then basically just move everything in. Alright, here we go.
This is right.
Now this blue fire Tzeentch is really cool, because it shoots the bolts up and then they come down and attack. Whereas like the fire ones, they shoot in a flat trajectory.
Kairos, fate weaver.
Yeah, it's... ooh. That wasn't happy. Yeah, it's... ooh. That wasn't happy.
This saves the Emperor. Restore your balance.
So that went basically as we thought it would.
This shames the Emperor. Shame and disorder.
And the only problem with allowing the battle to go on to clear up any enemy troops is that there is friendly fire. But those guys are okay because I got no ground troops there. But this Chariot is responsible for killing a bunch of my troops in other battles. Just its flamer things, anything. These guys are pretty tough, so they could take it. But the blue horrors, they go down pretty quickly to one of these. You're running the wrong way.
Restore your balance!
That'll do it. Now, that wasn't really much of a battle, so I'm going to go find something else a little bit bigger to take on, just so we can have a fair kind of battle for the video. So I'll wrap this one up, and then I'll go find something, and I'll be back in a sec. So that's going to be the final battle we go for. It's a siege. A fair few troops there, but those two armies shouldn't have much difficulty. Shouldn't. It's a decisive victory. But I think we'll take it manually. We'll start deployment on that. We can go all the way around. Right in the middle is the key building. There is a lot of openings. You can see on the map up here, whilst there's a lot of openings, you do have to work your way through. You can't just run screaming through there. They probably won't have a lot of defensive points to put up any towers or barricades, so yeah, I think this one's going to be fairly easy. But I've been wrong plenty of times. Let me get set up and I'll see you in there. Okay, so I've gone for a pretty basic surrounding setup. Troops over here, here, and then leadership and specialty units here, with just a range troop over here to come in through the back. I'll just show you. So here I've got Kairos, the two Furies, and the two Spawn of Tzeentch. They're going to run up here. whilst the flyers go up over here, depending on setup that the enemy has. And then I've gone with 2 Forsaken and 2 Exalted Pink Horrors in 3 groups, here, over there, and over here. I'm going to send them in at the same time. And we do have... I might put those heroes in the other groups, just so they have a bit of extra support. And over here is just the Chariot. Generally with a siege, from what I found out with the Ogre Kingdom's army, you can bypass the enemy troops. As long as you capture that key building and you hold it, you can win the battle. I was heavily outnumbered with an Ogre Kingdom's army taking on, I think it was an Empire army. It was right near the home base. And they had a garrison army and an army protecting it. And I just sent my main Scrag army in there and was doing okay because Scrag has that ability to break through the walls. And everything started going downhill really quickly, and I just took a couple of fast troops, went straight to the back of the cave where the key building was, captured that and held it, and just left my army out the front fighting the troops. I knew they were going to get beaten, and they were quite soundly beaten, but by the time the AI troops had started coming back in towards where I was, I had won by points. So if it is a very tough battle, just get some fast troops and go straight for that key building, because you can take it that way. Okay. I'm just going to pause this and see what kind of setup they've gone for. The heaviest concentration looks to be over there. A couple of them over here. These new sieges are really cool in that you get the entire... I don't know how they managed to build that up there. You get the entire town to fight through rather than the old Warhammer 2 siege. You still get some of those. I did have them. The Bastion Gates is one of those. Basically cliff on each side, very narrow frontal wall, but you still have a town like this that you can fight through. Whereas you didn't really get that in Warhammer 2. And you did have it in the Total War realistic battles, which was just a shame that you didn't have it in the fantasy Warhammer, and they've brought it in here. So props to the developers for listening to the community, that's what they wanted, and that's what they've been given. All right, so I think I'm just going to march everyone straight through. The Chariot looks pretty cool, and has the bonus of being up high, so you can get those range shots in a lot easier. Let's just drop that down there.
We are the cult. Kairos, fate weaver.
That slowdown effect that you see with the spells, when you click on it, everything goes into matrix mode, slows down, allows you to get a shot a little bit easier. You can go into the menu and disable that. I will show you that while I'm here. Slow motion ability targeting. So if you don't like that, you can turn it off. Just like the projectile trails, you can turn them off. But I like being able to see the arrows going through. Default guard and default skirmish. I think I might actually turn that off because I didn't like it that much with the blue horrors. I wanted them to be the front line, so I would just have to turn them off and on. So yeah, I think I'll turn that off.
I see the past and tomorrow. Watcher.
Actually, mine doing some reinforcements there for those guys. I won't send them in there, I'll send them there. Kairos over there. Can't take him out.
Follow the way. Yes.
Guys are actually doing pretty poorly over there.
Run. Changing ways.
What are they targeting? Not much. Now I'll just send them up there. In there. That's actually a really cool ability because being a flyer, I can fly him into the back, drop him down.
For the changer of ways.
Let's just stand there and get shot at. Why they stopped.
Kairos, fate weaver.
Yeah.
On the way. Very well.
Yeah, a little bit messy. I get in that habit when you think it's going to be a whitewash. You don't really focus on it as you should. So I'll occupy that, and that'll be my footstep into this side of the wall.
Kairos, Fate Weaver. Keeper of the Destiny Scrolls.
I don't think I covered it at the start. So these are the Kairos spells that he can cast. Once you hit level, I think it was like 12 or something, these ones unlock, and that enables you to swap out some of these skills. They do tend to revolve around 2 spells. So it's the Clean Magic and Infernal Gateway. Clean Magic, Infernal Gateway, and the other one is the Inkfire and Treason. Treason of Tzeentch and Tzeentch's Firestorm. And that's across all of these here. So you can pick these up and swap out the skills that you've got. I don't know if you're able to alternate between them, or once you pick, say, this one, you get the Fate of Juna and the Purple Sun of Xeris, but you no longer have Treason of Tzeentch and Tzeentch's Firestorm. You can't pick them up for the battle. And I did see that there is, yeah, so Winds of Magic cost minus 15% for the Law of Tzeentch spells. So you would lose that out if you swap for some of these. I was tempted to get that one there, but I do like Tzeentch's Firestorm. Haven't really used the Treason of Tzeentch though, but having some heal over time spells would be quite good. So yeah, I haven't picked up any of those yet. I don't think I will. That one intrigued me. It only has 2 uses, but when you start getting into trouble, you can chuck that out there and make a getaway. I can see some uses for that. And I haven't really done anything against Nurgle, so basically all the lords and all the heroes have this ability to boost their damage against Nurgle forces. Nurgle's alright, I don't mind them. So I haven't picked that up yet. I want to get some more of this route, go down this route a bit more, so I need to pick up 6. I'll put 1 more into there, and then I can go down that line. Go Infernal. Got that maxed out. Gate of Tzeentch, that's another one. Gives you a unit of pink horrors, so. Greater Gate, summon a Lord of Change, yeah. That looked really cool. And that 3 points in the previous skill, so I'll be putting points into that and then getting that. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. So that's Tzeentch in a nutshell. A very basic look from someone who hasn't had a lot of experience with them. Yeah, it's okay. I just feel that the troops are a little bit limited. With a very heavy emphasis on range troops. They're not really the kind of army, they're not really the kind of faction that I would play. But yeah, I think they're good. But I have gone up against them with Cathay, Ogres. Haven't gone up against them with the Demons of Chaos. But the range firepower that they can bring to bear can be quite devastating if left unchecked. You really need to have some flyers, some anti-range or range superiority to try and get past that very quickly, because they will eat away at your troops. And the magic is something that you've got to be really concerned about. So if you like range combat and you are a big fan of magic-based armies, then jump into Tzeentch. Give them a good go. They are a bit of fun to play with. So let me know in the comments what armies you've played, what you're finding to be the most enjoyable and why. So I think the next faction I'll play with will be Kislev. You do get to play them at a basic level because of the prologue, if you choose to play the prologue, which I would recommend because of the story component. And I didn't mind them. There were some limitations that I wasn't too sure about when I played the prologue, but we'll see how they go in a full campaign, and if those limitations are only because of the prologue or not. So if you want to see the Kislev video and any other ones that I put out, please like and subscribe to the channel, share it with those that might also be interested, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.